So Phil, if we can get started with you, please, just telling the students your name, your job title, the organisation that you work for, and maybe also describe the job you do now and how your career led you to it.
Okay, sure. My name's Phil Bello. I am a senior project manager at Tridel Corporation. I've been here for just about 15 years. Started as a student in a co-op program in 1998 and 99, and that led into my career here. The job I currently do is manage multiple projects from the very early stages of design right through to the turnover of a building for when our homeowners are essentially taking occupancy of their suites. So the early stages of a project relates back to the early stages from a due diligence perspective when we're acquiring land and taking a look at the efficiencies on the land to see what makes the most sense from a construction standpoint, what type of product we can build there. Again, right through to homeowners moving into their homes. So there's a lot that happens between the early stages into homeowner occupancy, but essentially that's the program.
Okay, an interesting job, and these days a busy one. So the next question is about the project that you're going to talk about today. Can you describe what this project was and what it was intended to achieve?
Sure. There's several projects that a senior manager has in his portfolio. The one we're going to talk about today, one of the ones that I'm a part of a team who works on it, is the Atria project. Atria project is a commercial development that is located at Shepherd and Victoria Park, and it's a multi-phase project consisting of 5 buildings. It was a vacant piece of land adjacent to a commercial tower that's essentially been transformed into this dynamic, high-density community, whereby the multi-phased piece is physically ongoing today. So the first 2 projects are in full thrust construction, so to speak. And the second phase is in the tendering stages today, where we're closing on costing and pricing for that project in order to move forward in the first quarter of 2015. Now, the project, as far as what it's intended to achieve, that question can get answered in multiple fashions. From where we're sitting, we're looking at a project to develop a community in an area where they're looking for that high-density housing. Obviously, it's an area in high demand. It's been well received, and it's pretty much transformed the whole parcel of land that it originally was. Pretty much, I guess, from what it was intended to achieve, that's it. But from a profitability standpoint is a different discussion, which we're also involved on the business side to ensure the project is profitable. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing.
Okay, and so what do you think the main factors are that will make this project successful?
A number of things. I think as it relates to my role, one of the priorities and the most dominant things in the project management side of the business, in my opinion, is probably budgeting and scheduling. So when a project is looked at in the early stages, the design of it and the efficiency of it have a huge impact on the outlay later. So if, for example, we decide to take this 5-acre parcel and build these 12 or 1,300 homes, we really calculate what makes the most sense from a business perspective, but at the same time, not overlooking where you're located, what the needs of that community are, whether it be retail, daycare, whatever our group here internally, which is a very dynamic group, feels makes the most sense in that application. Now, the success of a project is, again, rated on different things. If we're talking profitability, of course we have projects that perform differently. If it's a downtown site that warrants more dollars per square foot versus a midtown or an uptown site, those things are all very fluid. But I think at the end of the day, what ranks whether or not a project is successful is how it's been received and the delivery of that project overall and its impact on its surrounding community.
That makes sense. So what do you think in this project which is, I guess, partway along now. What do you think might have been done better? As you reflect on it, are there areas that you think could have been improved?
From a specific kind of perspective of looking at the project in its finite stages, I can tell you that there was a few challenges on the Shepherd and Victoria Park site that related back to the original parcel and how we had certain conveyances back to the city. It's any project that I've worked on could have been better. I'd be foolish to think otherwise. We can always improve, especially when you take a look at the way these projects are staged. There's always room for improvement. Specifically here, I would probably want to say that we had a heavy involvement with municipal and city staff as it related to, because we constructed a road network on this project, and I would have liked to have probably approached those issues with our development team even earlier than we did. We certainly approached them earlier, and we approached them probably how I would do them again, just earlier. And then secondly, probably just take a look at the timelines related to the various disciplines that are completing their tasks. So what I mean by that, again, it goes back to the priority of a management team is to look at costs and budgets, costs and schedules, budgets and schedules, which if you anticipate it's going to take you 4 or 5 months to complete a task and you've determined it's taking you twice that time, those are impacting heavily on a project, and sometimes to gauge where you think you would be based on what the consultants bring forward isn't enough. Maybe we could have done more to hammer that out a little better.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so, what do you think are the most important things for a project manager to focus on to be successful in project management?
So, relating to becoming a successful PM in the role itself, being cognizant of timing, budgets, schedules, is probably at the top of the list as far as the critical path for one to become successful in the role. Communication is huge on our end, because you're in a position where you're dealing with those that are external, internal consultants who basically come to you to act as the nucleus to feeding information back from a consultant, trade partner, external partners, internal parties here from an executive level. So you're responsible for quite a bit on a communication end, and you got to be strong and you got to be solid. You want to be transparent. You want to ensure that what you're telling those in front of you, acting as the builder's representative, essentially, they're comfortable with it. But from a priority perspective, number one would be schedules and budgeting and understanding them clearly, because you're speaking to them on a day-to-day. Every decision you make affects costs and time, and those two things are hugely important in our business.
Thank you. And my final question is, Phil, based on your career so far, what advice would you give to the students who are watching this and will soon be joining the workforce?
Well, that's a good question, and I think from my own personal experiences and kind of having touched upon them just briefly in this interview with you, Peter, is embracing the opportunity to get field experience if it's afforded to you. Sometimes we can go through the motions of understanding the theoretical piece. The academic side is hugely important, but at the same time, it's the intangibles that are huge. And to walk through the cycle of a very major development, be it residential, be it commercial, any mixed use type, you need to really be able to speak to the pieces of that puzzle. And in order to do that, it's paramount to have field experience to be able to speak to it, because those that we're dealing with in the partnerships that we create with consultants and trades, they know their business heavily, and we have to have some familiarity with it. Of course, we're not experts in all the disciplines, but to have familiarity with it, you need to be able to speak to the different stages of the site. So the embracing of an opportunity to get out there in the field, and basically ensuring anything you can do to have a stronghold on communication, because that part of your job is every day, at every turn. Sometimes it's good communication, sometimes it's bad communication, but it's all communication in the end.
Important advice, and thank you for taking the time to talk to the
My
students
pleasure.
today, Phil. I very much appreciate it, and I know this will be valuable for them.
My pleasure. Thank you.